All right. I'm Joe Trosian, and this is RamView, and I'm about 3 minutes early, so I'm not going to throw the football or do anything to start. I'm a little disappointed. I thought I combed my hair. It looks a little different. Happy to be here. Just getting ready for the schedule drop that should be coming at 5 o'clock. I figured, guys, you guys can send that to me if you want. I've got the rumored schedule release, but I thought, you know what, let's come on early and let's just hang out for a few minutes before we get heavy, before we do the opening and everything. That's the biggest news in football right now, and we can talk about some other stuff, and we will. The rumored one was released by a guy on Twitter, and everybody picked it up and ran with it. I hope it's true because I got it written down on my cheat sheet here. And it doesn't say the Rams are playing Thanksgiving or Christmas, which really thrills me. So we'll get to that. Talking some stuff. I'm a Mets fan. And when I'm done with my surgery, I'm in the process of readjusting a section of the RamCave here that'll just be fan view. It'll be for general sports and stuff. And so I'm loving it that the Mets have the best record in the National League as of right now. I've been enjoying the basketball playoffs. The Joker needs some better teammates, man. Porter just disappeared on him. I know he's hurt, but they got to get some more firepower there in Denver. SGA closed it out, and I'm kind of torn right now. Love watching the Pacers play, and I'm happy the Knicks are about ready to shut down the Celtics. And then there's the other thing. Pete Rose, Joe Jackson, and those guys, they're all off the restricted list. I think it makes sense. I wasn't for Pete Rose being in the Hall of Fame before, but it was a lifetime ban and life is over. And then you can let bygones be bygones. He bet on baseball. He should not have been put in the Hall of Fame, but he has passed. And he's going to be remembered, right? I have no problem with him going into the Hall of Fame now. So got all that stuff out of the way. It is 4:59. I'm not going to start just yet. Wildman Samurai, thank you for clicking on. Wildman Samurai, I'm a Yankees fan, but you're still cool in my book, bro. All right. Hey, okay, I got to ask you, since we're talking general sports here for a minute, what was up with that fifth inning in Game 5 in the World Series? I grew up a Dodger fan. They signed a Time Warner deal that blocked us all out. We couldn't watch the Dodgers, and so that was it. The Mets were always my second team. So I was kind of rooting for you Yankees there. And then Game 5, Aaron Judge, Garrett Cole. What happened? What happened, and what was the feeling? What was the feeling? Ron Reese. Hi, Ron. Thanks for being there. Bill, no Rams games on Thanksgiving night. That makes me happy. Wildman Samurai. I'd rather forget that moment. Are you a New Yorker, Wildman? So this is what it's going to work, guys. At some point, we'll just take our time here, and I'll go searching on another window here and look for the schedule release. If you guys got it, drop it in one game at a time. Drop it in week 1, week 2. I've got the fake release or the rumored release that has the Texans opening with the Rams on September 7th, and in that release, we've got them playing the 49ers on Thursday night in week 5, the London game, October 19th. I think that one's set in stone, and the bye for week 9. I like that bye. I like where that bye's at. Sunday night football game at the Buccaneers, third week in November before Thanksgiving. And then back-to-back, Thursday night football game was in Seattle, and on December 18th. And then on December 17th, the Rams get the Falcons or go play the Falcons on December 29th. Hopefully the Falcons season will be in disarray when that comes around. All right. Let's see. Manny Vasquez. Hopefully Rams get a late bye, because if they're going to play 20 or 21 games and win the Super Bowl, an early bye can hurt, but a late one after the 11th week would be great. Yeah, the proposed one or the rumored one had them playing on the bye on November 2nd. So this is truly a live stream show today, because I only have the rumored schedule, and I guess we're at 5:02. So, hey, as you guys see it, feel free to drop it in, and we'll go from there. But until then, let's just do what we do. This is RamView.
It's hot out there. Let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Hold on, okay.
Live from the RamCave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the May 14th, 2025 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident, need help, got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. KistlerLawFirm.com, that's one word. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. Okay, we're here. Hey, before we start looking at that schedule there, Trey Henderson rumors are interesting. I don't know what those rumors are, Chief. I did my homework today. After I got back from the doctor's office, I did my homework, but I didn't see anything on Trey Henderson. So let's do around the NFL and other places real quick. The Ravens gave King Henry 2 years, 30 rocks, 25 guaranteed. A big story of that. Of course, we know his age. And if I'm a Raven fan, I'm good with it. Derrick Henry, he's an outlier, right? He's an outlier. And you pay him. That's not bad money. You could feel safe with that. If something happens, it's like it was wise money spent. And if something goes wrong, it goes wrong. But I give them full credit for giving him that dough. I feel like he's a guy you could give that dough to. I don't think you can give that kind of dough, and the 49ers did, to Christian McCaffrey. All right, we did see the schedule for the Christmas games. There are going to be a lot of them. I think are they all on, or there are going to be Christmas games on Netflix, and my biggest problem with games on the holidays are, one, I don't want games on Christmas, right? Then I got to tell the family, go away. But the flip side of that is them being on Netflix, which makes it worse because Netflix has demonstrated it has zero clue on how to do sports. They're horrible. And I think they got young decision makers who don't really understand talent when they see it, and they just go for the lowest hanging fruit. Among them, Mina, the obvious one, Kimes. I've soured on Mina Kimes the last few years. She's become a victim. When I first heard her, I thought she wasn't too bad. I thought she held her own. But as time's gone on, she's become much more reactionary. And also, most of her takes are some of the most obvious takes, like Lamar Jackson's good, that kind of stuff. And if they're going to feed us Mina Kimes, the obvious one, with Netflix again, then yeah, I don't like these football games on Netflix. Amazon knows how to do it. Everyone else does as well. But Netflix is like watching Netflix NFL is like watching baseball on Apple, and it sucks. I don't like baseball games on Apple TV. So throw that out there. Let's see here. A few more questions popped in. Bill, Trey Henderson. All right. So we're cool. Nothing new yet. The other thing that came in was just looking at some former Ram player news.
They come and they go, Hobbs. They come and they
go. Former Ram undrafted free agent Quindell Johnson was cut by the 49ers. Not a big deal. But Troy Hill, former Ram cornerback, has become the head football coach at St. Bonaventure High School, home of Lorenzo Booker back in the day. And Troy Hill, I'm glad. I always used to get put out when I would see the Rams are considering bringing Troy Hill back. Rams got great clicks out of Troy Hill. I was not down with was it the 2022 reunion tour that he came back with, and I know he's been out of football for a while. Happy he got the job at his high school, but yeah, I'm not too sad he's not coming back to the Rams anymore. Let's see. We got Steve Ramirez. Looks good. Am I seeing no Monday Night Football? Hey, I want to know what you're seeing, Steve. I've got the rumored schedule that literally every outlet went with this morning or this afternoon. Texans at the Rams to open, and then the Rams going to the Titans in week 2 and the Eagles in week 3. Did anybody see that? Let me know if I got the right schedule or if it's been updated, because I'd love to see the right schedule here. I am digging it out and trying to see if it's come up yet. Rams to face. All right. No, I still don't have the right one. I do not have the right one yet. So if you guys got it, send it to me. I haven't looked at the right site yet. I'd love to know. Let's see. That's kind of funny. Bill, Rams hire a new scouting director from the Falcons. Oh, I thought okay, they did. They hired the new scouting director. And didn't Jacksonville take another Rams guy? Yeah. And stuff. So let's see. Steve Ramirez bye after the Jags game in London, play Baltimore prior to London. Okay, so that's what you're seeing. That's the schedule I got. Scott B, hey Joe, on vacation in Key West, made it back to the hotel to see your opinions on the schedule. So let me know this, guys. Do we have Texans, Titans, Eagles, Colts, Niners, Ravens, Jaguars, Saints before the bye? If that's what it is, then we could run with it and we could start yapping it up, because I do have some thoughts on that schedule. That schedule is workable. You get the Texans at home. Cool. I like that. And then you get Cam Ward, second game. If that's what it is, we're going to Tennessee, and I say the Royal we. If the Rams are going to Tennessee in week 2, that's before Cam Ward really gets his NFL footing, right? I was thinking this last year because we didn't know. I expected more initially out of Caleb Williams and the Bears. And I was happy the Rams were getting the Bears in week 4. Of course, I didn't know the Rams were going to play like dog meat in week 4 and give Caleb Williams his one highlight the first half of the season. But I like playing that rookie quarterback. And please interrupt me, confirm me, correct me. But if the Rams are playing the Titans in Tennessee week 2, that's Cam Ward still trying to get his feet wet in the NFL. That's good. Week 3, Rams at Eagles. I'm glad for that. I don't want a barn burner late in the season where everyone's getting beat up. And I do like this. Probably it's going to be better weather, obviously, September 21st. And again, I would not get worked up about this game being something that, how do you say it? Like, oh, this is going to decide the whole season. The Rams have had miserable starts the last 2 years, and we've ended up with 10 wins and in the playoffs. So, okay, so we got that here. Let's see. Steve Ramirez tweeted me the schedule. Steve Ramirez doing work. All right, we got the schedule here. Let's see. Okay, I think it matches up. Eagles week 3, Colts week 4, Niners week 5, Ravens week 6, Jaguars week 7, and then Jaguars week 7, Saints week 8. Okay, all right, so the bye week, what we have the official bye week is not week 9. The official bye week is week 8. So we flip-flop that, and then the Rams come back and play the Saints, and then they go to the 49ers, Seahawks. Yeah, we've got it all. All right, sweet. So the only adjustment that I have in what I downloaded earlier is bye week is week 8, and the Saints are week 9. All right. I kind of wanted that 9th week, but I'll take what we can get. It's better than week 6 last year. So cool. Let's dive into this and do some ed wrapping on this. Bill, last 7 games we could go 6-1. Tim Burns, we are starting with a good record. I say 4-1. Well, let's look at this. I'm gonna dive into the schedule. Pretty much everything's gonna be focusing on the schedule today. Texans at the Rams. I believe that's September 7th. I like the Rams in this game. I think the defense is going to come out stronger than it did last year. Our young guys got some experience under them. And I don't know if the Texans have taken care of their offensive line after dumping Laramie Tunsil. They've got some guys there that need to learn how to play together. And so I love this Texans at the Rams. That should be 1-0. Rams at the Titans. Again, I just talked about this. Getting Cam Ward week 2. I think Cam Ward's going to be a good quarterback, but I don't think it's going to be coming about in week 2. So that's 2-0. And then the Rams and Eagles. You tell me how you want to judge that one. I care more about Rams Niners than I do Rams Eagles in week 3. But what do you guys think? I think I think the Eagles are interesting because they've had some changes. Have they efficiently replaced Mekhi Becton? Is Lane Johnson still going to be playing at a high level? There's just questions there. Can they stay healthy, right, through the first 2 weeks? So that one, I think the Rams are a better team than they were last year. So that feels toss-up. Colts at Rams. Rams need to win that one, okay? So that would be 3 wins. Niners at Rams, Thursday Night Football. Rams need to win that one. And that's the game that's more important to me than the Eagle game. If the Rams are going to go 4-1 and the 1 loss to the Eagles, I'm good. If the Rams are going to go 4-1 with the 1 loss to the Niners, I'm going to be upset. The best version of the 49ers in 2025 will be in week 5, and that will be at SoFi, where in 2023, there was a deflected pass went off Kyron Williams' hands that turned the tide in that 2023 game. And then, of course, we saw the scramble the Rams made last year in week 3. So SoFi's not been a pleasant place for the 49ers. These teams, the previous teams the 49ers brought in, are not as strong. So week 5, the Rams are better. Even if the 49ers are at full strength, the Rams are better than the 49ers. And so that's the good news. You get the 49ers week 5 at home. And then when you get them later on, they're going to be a little bit more beaten up in week 10. So I do like that scheduling. So I think that's 4 wins right there, definitely for the Rams. Week 6, Rams at Ravens. That's interesting because you think the Rams are going to stay on the East Coast for 3 weeks. You got the Ravens October 12th. You got the Jaguars in London October 19th. And then you got the bye. Do you think the Rams are just going to stay out there for a couple weeks? I would assume they would. Again, the Ravens game, I think the Ravens are pretty good. The Ravens, though, are a team that always wins the Super Bowl in September and October, according to all the football experts. So I'll give the Ravens that win. I'll say the Rams are 4-2. Rams win in London and head into the bye at 5-2. Can we dance with that? Saints don't have a quarterback when they come back. The Rams face them in SoFi. So that's 6-2. Then the Rams go to the Niners in week 10. That one will be interesting. What kind of shape are the 49ers going to be in, right? Is Trent Williams going to be playing? Is Kittle going to be healthy? Is Fred Warner going to be healthy? Is C-Mac going to be playing, right? And without Trent Williams, what kind of shape? And, again, they're Colton McKivitz, the right tackle. It's nothing to write home about. Brendel at center is okay. Dominic Puny at right guard's all right. What kind of shape are they going to be in at quarterback? Is Mac Jones going to be playing? I'm going to give the Rams the sweep. I'm going to give them the sweep and give them the victory, and they'll go to what? Let's see, 5-2, 6-2, 7-2. Seahawks at the Rams on November 16th. I'll take the Rams at home. That's 7-2? Is that 7-2? 8-2? And then the Buccaneers. That one's going to be a tough game. The Buccaneers are my dark horse team, and I think they're going to be trouble. I think they're going to be trouble for a lot of teams. All right, you guys had some stuff rolling here. Let me get back to you guys on these questions here. We'll finish the rest of the schedule. I will look at those last, the back half of that schedule there, Bill, in a second. Let's see. ESG, the only thing the Eagles game will show is if we got our toilet clogger. And I don't think we did. But I think we got a rotation there. I think there's going to be a little bit more depth. And I like Puna Ford, right? I don't know if he's the classic toilet clogger, but he is an upgrade from Bobby Brown. So yeah, we'll find out, right? Hey, we're going to find out what Joe Mixon does, right? We're going to find out what happens in Tennessee in those games, because the Titans are going to try to run the ball to take pressure off of Cam Ward. Let's see, Micah Gutierrez, the schedule release video was great. Brenda Song did a nice job. Oh, I'll check that out. Gilbert Gonzalez, I like the Rams to win at least 12 games, stay healthy, 13 or 14. Eagles not snowing, and Eagles may be on a hangover. I think those are all I think that's legitimate things to look at the Eagles there, Gilbert. I really do. My one thing is you don't know where the Rams are going to die on the vine. And I still go back. I think they should have won the Packer game last year. But that game didn't infuriate me as much as the Bears and Dolphins games did. And those were games where they simply, surprisingly, under McVay and in this era, basically showed up and didn't play. And one was on the road against a rookie quarterback. I don't care if it was Caleb Williams or not. It was against a rookie quarterback and a miserable offense. And two, that performance against the Dolphins. Oh, that was just vulgar. It was absolutely vulgar. You know, if McVay didn't have a history, I would have cleaned house after that game. I was furious after that Dolphin game last year. So what I'm saying there is we don't know where the Rams are going to die on the vine, right? Do they get blown out by the Buccaneers at home, right? Do they beat the Ravens and then lay an egg in London, right? We just want to see a great Ram team. I think we've seen scrappy Ram teams, but I want to see a Ram team that puts teams away, right? Even in the Super Bowl year, remember we were ahead of the Colts and they came back and it took overtime to beat the Colts in 2021. And no, that was 2023 as well. It was a playoff team. And then the Seattle game last year, and Smith got hot to JSN. And it's like, why do we have to make things hard, right? This is why we can't have nice things. So I'm thinking 11-6, but we'll see how I feel at the end of the show. Micah Gutierrez, Texas O-line is going to have a huge test right out of the gate against us. Fully agree. Absolutely, fully agree. Steve Ramirez, Rams get week 16 Thursday game, so a late mini bye. I was wrong at Atlanta, week 17, Monday Night Football. Let me see here. I've got Rams playing the Seahawks in Seattle, December 18th, Thursday Night Football, and then the Rams playing the Falcons, Monday Night Football, December 29th. So they even get an 11-day break as opposed to a 10-day break. And, maybe we could put the Falcons draft pick in the top 5 with a win there. Tim Burns, nailed the London game. I hate out-of-the-country games. Can't stand them. London doesn't feel as bad as Brazil. It doesn't feel as bad as Australia. How about the West Coast teams go to Mexico, right? If you got to play out of country, how about the West Coast teams go to Mexico? How about, pretty far, but how about Tampa Bay, Miami, Atlanta, New Orleans go to Brazil, right? How about the East Coast teams go to London or Germany? Hello, Players Union, right? Hello, Players Union. Let's see. Manuel Vasquez, at the minimum, the Rams should head into their bye 6-2. All right. I'll buy that. I think 5-2. I think it comes week 8. I think it's week 8 that the bye comes, according to what was sent to me. But should be a much better start, right? Should be a much better start to the season. Let's see. Micah Gutierrez, no East Coast cold weather games in the regular season. We'll see about the playoffs. Hey, hopefully, if the Rams can take care of business, hopefully, if they can go 6-0 in their division, if the Eagles do stumble a little bit, which we've seen them do in previous Super Bowl runs. They died on the vine in 2019, and they died on the vine in 2023 after Super Bowl appearances. There is possibility, if we believe what we believe, could the Rams get home field? Now, home field for the Rams means you're not going to have to play on the East Coast in a snowstorm. Does home field for the Rams mean home field advantage with your own crowd? No, absolutely not, because we know what Ram fans do and who the club markets to, the people that don't care. So it'll be interesting. But I do like that idea that we're looking at the back half of the schedule. The Falcons are indoors. The Panthers, November 30th, Carolina. That's about it. But you got the Eagles and the Ravens out of the way in the first half of the season. So there shouldn't be any bad weather excuses for the Rams. Absolutely. DHP, good to have you, DHP. When will the Rams show their new uniforms? I imagine that's next on the docket. They'll give us 2 or 3 days to stew over this, and then they'll probably release something next week. Let's see. My bad. The bye is week 8. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. I had week 9 myself. Tim Burns, as I see it, 13-4. Tell me your losses, Mr. Burns. Drop it in the box. ESG, 49ers backup quarterback Mac Jones is a Shanahan favorite. Do you see a quarterback controversy in Santa Clara? Well, I keep waiting for that contract to get signed, right? Brock Purdy's done everything the 49ers could have asked of him, especially for Mr. Irrelevant. But, you don't want to give him too much dough. I like Mac Jones, but I think Brock Purdy has just proven himself better processor, more efficient, right? I'm not saying Brock Purdy's great, but right now he's the better quarterback. Tim Burns, okay, losses to Philly, Baltimore, Detroit. Going to lose to Detroit at home and at Seattle. Okay, all right, I can see that. I want to sweep the 49ers. We definitely want to go no worse than 4-2, but definitely the Rams are going to drop a game, one of the 4 with the Seahawks or Cardinals, right? They're going to drop one of those 4 that they play between them. Manny Vasquez, the Rams' run defense is going to be tested early. Hopefully they did enough to fix it. Well, I like Poona Ford, right? I do like Poona Ford. I like what they've got there. Let's look at that line again. Braden Fisk, Poona Ford, upgrade from Bobby Brown. Tyler Davis back for another year. And then you got Kobe Turner. And then you're running DeJuan Johnson, who the Rams have gotten some clicks out of. And maybe they brought back Laurel Murchison. Maybe they think he's healthy. And then, of course, they spent that draft capital to move up and take Ty Hamilton from Ohio State. So there's pieces here that can give them not only rotation, but actually contribute. So I'm a little more optimistic. I wanted the big fat dude. I wanted the toilet clogger, the official 700-pound guy that you can't move. But we'll see what Poona does. Poona's hungry, right? Poona is hungry. Let's see. In 2021, we almost blew a huge lead against Tampa Bay and Tom Brady. Oh, yeah. That was a heart attack, right? Well, we're up 27-0, 27-3. Akers fumbles. Brian Allen and Stafford can't connect on the snaps. Yeah, that was pretty brutal. Thank goodness for the love of the gameplay, right? Thank goodness for that. Let's see. Gilbert Gonzalez, agree with you, Joe. The Super Bowl year had the 49ers beat bad in the first half and then let the 49ers back into the game and steal one from the Rams. Love to see a great Ram team. Yes, we want to see them. Give us a night off, right? Give us a night off. Give us a 45-14 game and let us enjoy something for once. It's always difficult with the Rams, right? Steve Ramirez to Mexico in TJ. Does TJ have a stadium? Does TJ have a legitimate stadium there? I haven't spent as much time in TJ as I have in Mexicali. I know they got a bullfighting arena, or they used to. But, keep a West Coast team somewhere in the West Coast. Manny Correa, what's happening? Saying hi to Manny. Tribe, finally hosting the Winers at night. Seems like the last million times we've played them in prime time, it's been in their place. Cold, wet, and foggy. But you know what? That's probably that game last year the Rams won. What was the final of that game? Was it 9-7 or 10-3? What was the final of that game in Levi last year? But that was a game where the Rams just played defense, right? If you thought about what that defense looked like against the Bears, what it looked like against the Cardinals in week 2, that was when Braden Fisk and Jared Verse, and you saw these guys maturing, that entire defense in total, maturing, and Chris Shula demonstrating that shutdown on that Thursday night, that cold, wet night up there in Frisco or in Santa Clara was really an underrated victory. I know we talk about the bigger ones, but that one was incredible. That one was really incredible. Let's see. ESG. I don't see the Rams sweeping the division, but I'm hoping. I just don't want anything less than 4-2, right? When you look at it and you look at the division, as we continue to look at the schedule. All right, so you got the 6 games. Let's omit the 6 games. Let's look at the other 11. They can beat the Texans. They can beat the Titans. Let's give the Eagles the win. They can beat the Colts. That's 3-1. Let's give the Ravens a win. That's 3-2. They beat the Jaguars. That's 4-2. They beat the Saints. That's 5-2. We gave them losses to the Eagles and Ravens. Let's take the win against the Buccaneers. That's 6-2. Against the Panthers, 7-2. Let's lose to the Lions and go 7-3. and then let's beat the Falcons and be 8-3. You go 8-3 and 4-2 in your division, you're 12-5. You go 8-3 outside of your division, and you go 5-1, you're 13-4. You win them all, you're 14-3. To me, it's about winning those division games. You got to win those division games, and there are enough punks on the schedule where I view the Texans, the Titans, the Saints, the Panthers. These are winnable games. They are games that the Rams should win and need to win. Jaguars. You can't horse around with these games. Like the Bear game last year. That Bear game was a game that shouldn't have, no, there's no excuse for it. There's just no excuse for losing that game. And those games I just rattled off, those are all winnable games. So the potential is there. Even if you go 4-2 in your division, you don't want to go anything less. And I've been told the 49ers strength of schedule is pretty weak. I'd love to look, in the days to come, we'll look at the other divisional opponents, their strength of schedule and such. But no, they really need to take care of business. Manny Vasquez, the 49ers have a cakewalk of a schedule. Okay, so the Rams cannot afford to lose games they should win, like Chicago, Green Bay, and Miami last year. Yeah, absolutely. There's a bull ring in TJ. I imagine there would be. How many does it seat? Let's see. Gilbert Gonzalez, 13-9. Okay, we won that game in Frisco last year, 13-9. But remember, it was just non-fans are saying it's a boring game. As a Ram fan, while I was on pins and needles, it was great to see your team play tough. Remember, there was that stretch there, 2019 up through last year, right? We could treat the NFC Championship game as an outlier, but from 2019 up to last year, the 49ers always played more physical than we did, right? And I think last year we turned it around. And we became the more physical team. We're the younger team. We're the faster team on defense, and they're not. Their keystones are Bosa, and their keystones are Fred Warner. They moved off Eric Armstead. They moved off Javon Hargrave. They moved off a lot of these guys. They lost Greenlaw. They moved off Hufanga. So there's a learning curve there with that new defense. I know they got Saleh back. I'm not going to say they're going to be incompetent, but Rams should own them. We really should own them for a bit. Manny Vasquez, 13-4 is my call. I want to see more of Jimmy G this year, if you know what I mean. In the blowouts, right? So here was one of my things. Is I was going back and thinking about last year. One of the things, maybe this doesn't bug you guys, but it bugs me with Sean McVay, is when the Rams are losing 41 to 10 or 42-10 to the Cardinals. I want to know what the blank Matthew Stafford is still doing in the game, right? When a game is clearly over, the Eagle game at home last year, when the game is clearly over, I don't want to see Matthew Stafford in the game. I don't want to see Puka Nacua in the game. If that Ram-Raven games turns into something like it did was that a Sunday night or Monday night back in 2019 where they came to the Coliseum and they just smoked the Rams. Remember that? I think the Rams were wearing their mustard that night. They just smoked the Rams. I don't want to see Stafford and those guys in the games. And sometimes McVay is that is one thing that really bugs me about him, is that he leaves those guys in, and I don't want to see him in the game. I don't want to see him in the game. I'll also say this. I really don't care about Puka Nacua getting a record. That, to me, I understand you want to take care of your players, and it makes players loyal and love you, but I don't care about any records. I don't care if Jared Verse is Defensive Player of the Year. I don't care if Matthew Stafford's MVP. All I care about is just winning and getting to the Super Bowl, right? And then you've got scoreboard over people like Steeler fan Rob in Missouri, right? Think about his nightmare this year, right? Has Aaron Rodgers even signed yet? Has he even signed? There we go. I'd like to see Jimmy G in a lot more games this year. And I totally know what you mean there, ESG. All right, let's keep looking at that schedule. We get the bye, week 8. It's doable, October 26th. And then we come back week 9 with the Saints on November the 2nd. Saints are at the Rams. They don't have a quarterback. Why why they're not thinking, is it Mickey Loomis? Is he still the GM? Why they were not thinking right now, we are getting out of the business of 2025. Alvin Kamara, Demario Davis, all those guys should be on the block. Take what you can get for them. See if you can get a pick in the first 100 and move them and get ready, because they're not going anywhere. They're not going to compete with the Bucs, and they're not going to compete with the Falcons, right? They're just not. That Derek Carr retirement kind of hurts us a little bit, because basically the Saints give the Falcons 2 wins this year. Can you see the Saints winning against the Falcons this year? I don't. I just don't. And so the Rams need to take care of the Saints. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Then the Rams go to Frisco week 10. By that time, I think Frisco should be beaten up. I really do. I think they should be beaten up. Seahawks at the Rams. That's a late season thing there. The Seahawks are going to be interesting to watch. Will they got a hole there at center and at left guard. Zabel, the guy they just drafted from North Dakota State, last I saw, he's plugged in to play right guard. You got Abraham Lucas at right tackle, and you got Charles Cross at left tackle. And I always go back to, does everyone remember what Jared Verse did to Charles Cross, who's listed as one of the top 10 left tackles in the league? He's been pretty good, but we know what the Rams did to them. That offensive line is not complete yet. They're going to have an exceptional year somewhere in there, because I don't think their offensive line, and I know there was injuries last year to that Viking line, and Darisaw went down against the Rams in the Thursday night game. And yet we saw what the Rams did to Sam Darnold. If Sam Darnold is still upright by week 11, and that's the offensive line, the one that we're currently seeing projected for the Seahawks, Rams need to win. That shouldn't be a game. Well, you give them a break because it's a division game. No, you need to smoke the Seahawks. Get the win in SoFi, and then maybe you can do business later on at Lumen Field. Then the Rams go to the Panthers, and we're going to find out about – these are questions that other teams have, right? They're going to find out, well, what does Bryce Young have? They're giving him some more tools. What are we going to find out about Bryce Young? We know he played better the back half of the season, but what are we going to find out? Cardinals by week 14, that's going to be interesting. That's where the Rams go to Arizona, where for the most part, except for last year, Sean McVay has owned the Cardinals in Arizona. But that's going to be interesting because the Rams get the Cardinals the Rams get the Cardinals the last week of the season. So we're not going to see them until week 14 and week 18. And where are the Cardinals going to be in week 14? Offensively. I think defensively, if the old guys hold up, Josh Sweat, Calais Campbell, Dalvin Tomlinson, if they hold up, Budda Baker, they're going to play hard for Jonathan Gannon. But where's Kyler Murray going to be by week 14? When do the Cardinals play their worst football? Traditionally in the Kyler Murray era. On the other side of the bye, on the other side of week 10. What Cardinal team are the Rams going to face in Arizona? And so they've got questions to answer. Lions is going to be a great game. And it's one of those games where, we're talking conference, who has home field advantage in the conference. I don't think that game in that regard affects the Rams. Rams are always on the road, and Detroit's an indoor stadium, so the Rams can play there and the Rams can win there. But that game has special meaning. And then the Rams go to the Seahawks, and that one could be highly competitive, highly competitive. Hopefully the Rams are 15-0 at that point, or 14-0, and so it won't matter. But that game could be highly competitive. But the good news about that game in week 16 against the Seahawks in Seattle is that it's a Thursday night game, and the Rams don't get that mini bye where it's 10 days off. They get that mini bye where there's 11 games off, because in week 17, they're playing in Atlanta on Monday night. And so that one could be a trap game a little bit. If the Falcons are struggling a little bit, and then at the end of the year, if these games are critically important, you got the Seahawks in week 16, and then you got to come home in week 18 and play the Cardinals. If there's room for a trap game, potentially, that Falcon game could be if the Cardinals are playing well, if the Seahawks are playing well. I think there's questions about those teams. Cardinals got to find out about Kyler Murray. Seahawks got to find out about Sam Darnold. Panthers got to find out about Bryce Young. 49ers, are they going to hold up? Saints don't have anybody, right? The Jaguars, are they going to make a turn? And are they going to make that turn by the time the Rams get there? Cam Ward's going to be young in terms of his first year. Colts don't have a settled quarterback yet between Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. So the Rams are in a really good place. Houston has to find out about its offensive line. Lots of good stuff there, Bodie, because those other teams have questions. I know you guys brought up, do we have a toilet clogger? Yeah, that's our question. Do we have a toilet clogger? What's the other question? Right? What's the other question? Our cornerback room is competent. I'm believing in Emmanuel Forbes. I think the Rams' inaction in bringing in another corner in the offseason speaks to the fact that I think they have confidence in Emmanuel Forbes. They're getting Darian Kendron back, so there's going to be a lot of depth there in that cornerback room. Solid depth. Not great, right? We're not talking Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, but we are talking solid depth there that if somebody goes down, there's guys that can play. I would agree. I think it was DHS or Bill that brought up, do we have our toilet clogger, right? Do we have our toilet clogger? Let's see here. Let's see. Gilbert Gonzalez, McVay, rest his players when it's wrapped up. So when it's a blowout, take them out so no one gets hurt. Preach, right? Preach. Manuel Vasquez, I would imagine that McVay sees that as giving up and throwing in the towel, but which he would never do. But I agree with you. If the game's out of hand, you got to pull some of the players out, especially your older guys. Don't wear down the tread on the older guys. Now, again, Stafford is the best player on the team, right? Most critical player on the team. It's still at age 37, he still got worn tread, right? I thought the most interesting, the smallest little bite, I think Colin Cowherd said, and it wasn't regarding football, but it was about Steph Curry. And what he said about Steph Curry at his age, he said it wasn't the fact that he's out of shape or anything, or that the injury happened just because. He says he just briefly mentioned it was the soft tissue or the hamstring injury based on overuse, because they're Golden State, even at this stage of Curry's career, so dependent on him. And he's great. He's a marvel to watch. He stays in shape. Great. Same thing with Stafford. He's great. He looks in better shape now than he did in 2021, but he's still got the tread on his tires. He's still got the worn tread. So you got to limit those snaps. Help me, right? ESG, I think the Rams are in Darnold's head. Yeah, right? And I want to see the Seahawks schedule and see who they're facing the first 10 weeks before they face the Rams. That's interesting that the Rams get the 49ers in week 5 and in week 10. So before we even play the Seahawks or the Cardinals, the Rams will be done with the 49ers. And so it's going to be interesting to see how that Seattle offensive line holds up. Yeah, it could be real interesting. Tim Burns, wow, some Dodger games, huh? Small wins in A's world. Hey, all I know is the Mets had a better winning percentage this morning than the Dodgers. So go Mets. Tim Burns, all but one division game after the bye worries me, though. I don't want another scenario where only the NFC West champ hits the playoffs. I didn't even think about that. Didn't think about that. That's a point worth investigating. Michael Negretti, hola, Pastor Joe. I was reading on UDFA Willie Lampkin. He has a wrestling background and an inch longer wingspan than first-round pick Will Campbell. I hope Lampkin does good and makes the team. You're doing homework, Negretti. Good job. I'm remiss on my Lampkin homework. I will discover to do better. Again, when the Rams sucked, it was so easy to do a show and say, why did they do that? If you ever listened to Cardinal, up until before this last year, if you ever heard Arizona Cardinal podcasts, right? It's like, what are they doing? This is the stupidest move ever. I can't believe that. And I think we were in that place with the Rams prior to 2017. But now the Rams are forcing you to trust them, right? And that means when you see them bring in a Josh Wallace, a Jalen McCullough, an Alaric Jackson, an Omar Spates, developing a Darius Williams, all these undrafted free agents, you got to go, you're right. Don't sleep on any UDFA the Rams sign. Never sleep on them because any one of them could break out. Absolutely. There you go, Negretti. ESG, the Rams need to win games against teams that will win here and there, but really aren't good. Yeah, they got to take care of business, right? I was having somebody come after me because I'm honking for the Mets, and then they show me strength of schedule so far at the start of the year that the Mets have the 20th strongest strength of schedule to start the year. But I said my answer to that is they're beating the teams they should beat. That's all you could ask for. Rams lose to the Eagles. It sucks, but we understand it, right? Rams lose, I don't know, to the Chiefs, maybe the Bills in the postseason or something, the Super Bowl. It sucks, but we understand it. Rams losing to the Saints, not tolerable. It's unacceptable, right? So, yeah, I'm right there with you, ESG. Michael Negretti, they said if Lampkin would be 6'3", he would have been drafted in the first round. Well, I'm going to hold you back there, Negretti. Does everyone remember the talk about THT? Tre'Davious Hodges Tomlinson, who is now no longer with the Rams. Rams got him, in the 6th round? And everyone was saying, oh, if he was 3 inches taller, he would have been drafted on the first day, right? And that's low-hanging fruit. Now, if you're right, and Lampkin turns into a Hall of Famer, you tear me down with it. When we come on the show in 5 years, you type in, you just go, oh, Joe, by the way, remember I was the guy that honked for Willie Lampkin, put me in my place. I deserve it. But I'm always hearing that if this guy was a little bit taller, if this guy was a little bit of this. You know what? If I was 6'5", I could have sat on the end of the bench on a college basketball team. But alas, I'm not 6'5". I'm being a jerk there. Steve Ramirez, Dodger haters, talk to me in October. Okay, Mr. Ramirez. USA Expat, thanks for joining us. Home field advantage in all playoff games equals no snow, my number one wish. I have no fear of this Rams team going on the road. Jared Goff's teams, I did. Not Matthew Stafford's teams. Because they play a road game at home every week as well. Tell me, I hate to say it, but weren't you so impressed with how the Rams never folded, right? They never folded in that game against the Eagles. And there were times, right, where those Ram teams, I'm not going to speak for 69 and Steve Ramirez's experience in that one with the Joe Cap team, but the Rams against the Vikings in 74, the Rams against the Vikings in 76, either they got off to poor starts or there was some just brain dead play in the midst of things. And it was always attributed to the weather. Yeah, there were fumbles last year, but I don't know. The Rams had a chance to win that game. Even Sean McVay was saying 13 yards away in behind the grind. So, yeah, I want home field advantage. I do it for the travel purposes, but I'm not afraid of it for the Rams. Druzilla, 95, thank you. Hey, now, don't sleep on those UDFAs for sure. Our schedule looks easy to me. All right, Druzilla, thanks for joining us. Are you signed up yet, Druzilla? I'm trying to remember if we've interacted before, but thank you for being here. Forgive me if I've been remiss and forgot. No, love the UDFAs. That's the exciting part about what the Rams do at this juncture. This is the golden era of Ram football in Los Angeles for us, that you get excited about every move they make, every draft they have. It's like, oh, the Rams saw something in this guy. Got to keep an eye on him. I'll give you a prediction here in a second here because I think there's possibilities in this schedule. Let's see. Gilbert Gonzalez, Joe, we will give you the Mets a better record in May, but it's October that counts, Joe. Last looked. Okay. All right. We're all talking neck here. All right. Can I wear my Mets jersey if the Mets are in first place by the 4th of July? If the Mets are still on top of the NL East in July, can I wear my Mets jersey on RamView? I'm asking for permission. Prediction. Okay, 5-1 in league, 5-1 in conference, and then I'm gonna go 13-4. 13-4 high end. 14-3 high end. I'm optimistic about this team. Of course, we know injuries. 14-3, absolute high end. Low end, 11-6, and I think that could still win the division. But I'm gonna settle around 13-4. Okay, so put me down for 13-4. If the Rams finish 14-3, you can say, well, Joe, you said that, but you didn't put a stamp on it. I'm thinking it's possible. I think 11-6 could happen, but I'm going to settle my money. If I had to put money, if indeed I was, it would be on blue gold, 13-4. There you go, Druzilla. USA expat. Home field advantage means best record in the NFC. Yes, it does. You're absolutely right. And I know I'm sounding like a doom and gloom guy, and I'm always anti-Ram fan, except for you guys. But yeah, let's see. ESG, I think we were down like 13 in the fourth quarter, and we still made it a game. Oh yeah, absolutely. That Eagles game, I was starting to believe. Drewzilla, 95. I'm saying 13-4, only if we lose all the big games. Okay. Yeah. So lose all the big games. I'm not going to sell the Rams short. I think this is they're gonna win. They're gonna pick off either the Eagles, the Ravens, or the Lions. One of those three are gonna nail. The Buccaneer game kind of scares me a little bit, but they're gonna nail. They're not gonna just get swept by the Eagles, Ravens, and Lions. Remember, before the non-called block in the back in 2023, Rams had that game that went into overtime, right? That one. I broke something that day. I literally broke a water bottle that day. I slammed it into the ground. So there you go, Mr. Burns, 13-4. Steve Ramirez, if the Rams had Stafford's line, had Stafford like quarterback in 76, Bobby Bryant doesn't get the pick in the NFC title game. The great what if, right? The great what if, right? And so if nothing would happen to the space-time continuum, can we get the DeLorean to take Matthew Stafford back and he goes in there and plays quarterback for the Rams in the 76 NFC title game? Yeah. Oh, man, don't even get me going on that one. I guess we got to write the book, right? That's the book we should write. Let's see. ESG, 13-4, clinching the division in week 16. I go back to this, guys. I really do. I'm Joe Chirosian, sports writer, 21 years. I write books now, and thanks to Kistler Law, and we get to do RamView. I contribute to Mid-Valley Sports. Tim Burns does as well. You can check us out there. Buy my books. They're on Amazon. They help support me in my day job. I pastor a small church in Burbank Faith Nazarene. And you can find us right here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual, BurbankFaithVirtual.com, Burbank Faith Virtual all across social media. Also, check out my Pitcairn Island-sized From the RamCave Spotify podcast. That's the audio version of this that we download and load up in the mornings after our shows. So just going back to the teams we're playing, you could almost raise a question about every single one of these teams. Is that fair? I know I'm at the 53-minute mark. Suck. Okay, we'll get to this. Manny Korea chilling at work. I want to see Jimmy G week 17 and 18. Okay, Rams are 15-0. Do we just start Jimmy G and everything's sewed up? NFC best record, NFC West, everything's sewn up. Do you just start Jimmy G? Let Stafford play a quarter in week 17 and then bring in Jimmy G and then let him finish. The one thing you don't want to have happen is you don't want anything to happen to Jimmy G either if everything's locked up, right? Because try finding a quarterback at that point. Try finding a quarterback. And there's the other thing. Here's the other thing. Where's the camp arm? Who's the camp arm? There's got to be a fourth arm brought in at minimum. Where's the Dresser Wynn, Luis Perez type of quarterback to bring in? Where is that guy? Because I'm kind of curious. I mean, wow. I mean, are they really going to ride? I mean, you'll cut that guy, but odds are they're going to ride with Stetson Bennett again. And if you're playing Jimmy G, who historically has had a glass jaw, do you want to expose him too much? Let him get hurt week 18, and then you enter postseason with Stetson Bennett as your backup? welcome to my nightmare, right? Welcome to my breakdown. Okay, real quick here. When you look at these teams, tell me if you don't see questions with all the teams the Rams are facing. And I go back. Forget healthy. I'm not so much worried about healthy unless the team is really old. Rams are very young on defense, right? And outside of Havenstein, they're pretty young on the offensive line as well. And then you got quarterback, but that hasn't been an issue for Stafford the last 2 years. But just look at these teams that have questions. Texans, offensive line. Titans, potentially a great quarterback, but in his second pro game. Colts, quarterback. Niners, health, age, all that stuff. Ravens, did they do enough by drafting Makuba, the safety? Did they do enough? Do they have enough of a pass rush to counter with the Rams, right? Again, a Rams team that's more experienced, much more athletic. Maybe Lamar Jackson doesn't get the breakaways as much. So there's potential there. Less questions, but some potential. Jaguars, questions. Saints, questions. Niners again. Seahawks, offensive line. Sam Darnold, questions. Buccaneers, less questions. I kind of like the Buccaneers. I'm high on the Buccaneers. Panthers, questions. Cardinals, questions. Always with Kyler Murray and where the mindset's going to be in week 14. Lions, did they do enough in their secondary? They're not going to get the calls. They're going to be in SoFi this time. So is their defense going to respond? Where's Aiden Hutchinson going to be? Did they get enough to help him with a complementary edge rusher? Go back to 2023. Rams didn't have a kicker. That hurt them in that playoff game against the Lions. And also what hurt the Rams is they didn't have a complementary pass rusher to Byron Young, right? They were getting pressure up the middle from Ernest Jones, but do the Lions have somebody that can legitimately complement Aiden Hutchinson? And what is Aiden Hutchinson's health? Falcons, they're the Falcons, right? Every time you start to believe in the Falcons, they let you down. So all these teams the Rams are facing, I think, have more questions than the Rams. And that's kind of an exciting thing to think about right there. All right, let me work through these questions here, and then we'll see where we're at because we're closing in on the hour. Let's see. Gilbert Gonzalez, 69 Rams beat the Vikings on Monday night. Had a better record, but played the playoff game in Minnesota. Why? The snow up at halftime, but faded. So they were up at halftime, yes, but faded at the end. Vikings go to the Super Bowl. Yeah, Steve saw that game. I only saw highlights of that game. The cold was legit. I heard Merlin Olsen talk about it. Man, could you imagine Rams, Chiefs, and Super Bowl IV, right? Rams, Chiefs, and Super Bowl IV. You got Hank Stram against George Allen. You got Len Dawson against Roman Gabriel, right? I mean, whoa. Man, that what we missed out on, historically there, right? Let's see. USA expat, no Mets jerseys allowed. Okay. Steve Ramirez, Vikings beat the Rams at the Coliseum in 69, then won the rematch. The Rams destroyed the Vikings on Monday Night Football in 77 before the Mud Bowl. Yeah, I think they beat them 35-3. Hayden had a big game, but that was the part, that was a frustrating end, of course, the Mud Bowl. But what was frustrating about that is that Viking team was on the downward path. That Viking team was ready to be beat like the Rams beat them, 34-10 in 78? Remember the Rams got them right back there again in 78, crushed them 34-10. If the weather had been fair, right, if the weather had been okay, I have no idea, right? Did gamblers make it so that field wouldn't be covered to make it a Mud Bowl? I don't know what the deal was, but the Rams should have beat the Vikings that day in 77 like they did in 78. Yeah, that was very, very frustrating. USA expat, no John Shaw fan club t-shirts here either. You'll never see me wearing a John Shaw shirt, okay? But I will say this. I don't want to disparage the Shaw name. I bought my home from a family named Shaw, so not all Shaws are bad, okay? Steve Ramirez, also, Gilbert, Monday Night Football was created until 70. Okay. JD Durham, Rams need a good start. Okay, let's do worst case scenario, and then we'll get out of here. Beat the Texans. I can't lose I doesn't see us losing the Texans. Let's say Rams do one of those Chicago, Miami games in Tennessee. Tennessee's all excited. Cam Ward plays out of his mind, doesn't know what he doesn't know, and they win. Lose to the Eagles. I cannot see them losing to the Colts. They could be 2-2 by the time they face the 49ers. 49ers could be healthy, right? 49ers could steal one. They're 2-3. Lose to the Ravens, go 2-4, but they're going to beat the Jaguars and be 3-4 at the bye. If the Rams are 3-4 at the bye, they come back after the bye, beat the Saints. They're 4-4, right? They'll beat the 49ers. 49ers will not stay healthy, right? They'll be 5-4. And then that's where it really gets crazy. How good are the Seahawks, the Buccaneers, right? I'm just looking at worst case scenarios here, right? And so I could see the Rams in a worst case scenario, maybe being 2-3 after week 5. Worst case scenario, beating the Texans and the Colts, but losing to the Titans, the Eagles, and 49ers. And of course, that Titan game would have to be, again, Cam Ward not knowing what he doesn't know, right? And just, he's a backyard football player and just making things happen. I don't think he's, how do you say it? I do not think he is Patrick Mahomes. All right, Ron, let's see. Ron Reese. JD, thank you for that question. Ron Reese, I hope Tutu has a good year so Travis Rodgers can eat his words for talking bad about him. That would be fun, right? That would be fun. Spite runs strong in my family. All right, hey, I want to get to this.
It was a stone groove, my man.
Yes, it was a stone groove. I want to get to this, and I promise, guys, I'll look at the strength of schedule for our division opponents and everyone else. May 14th, 1969, Rams send tight end Kent Kramer to the Vikings for a 4th-round pick. Kent Kramer grew up right here in Temple City, and I got to know him a little bit online before he passed away a few years ago, but he never played for the Rams. Rams got Kramer from the Saints for a 5th-round pick that New Orleans used to draft quarterback Steve Ramsey. Okay, no big deal. Kramer never played it down with the Rams. He was injured during the 68 season, blew out his knee, and then moved to the Vikings. In 69, the Rams spent a 1st-round draft pick on Bob Klein. On this date in 1974, in that same 1969 draft, the Rams used a 1st-round pick on Arizona State fullback Larry Smith. Larry Smith was kind of shaky. He was a George Allen special, drafted by the George Allen era. Rams had 3 1st-round picks. They had, was it Jim Seymour, Notre Dame? They had Bob Klein, USC, Larry Smith. And I'm not going to say they biffed him. Klein was okay, but it was nothing special. But on this day, in 1974, the Rams traded Larry Smith for a 5th-round pick that turned to the Redskins, that turned into USC guard Donnie Hickman in 1977. On this day in 2019, Rams signed undrafted free agent Jake Gervais. He didn't have a great run with the Rams, but the Rams did get clicks out of Jake Gervais. And then born on this day in 1950 was Willie McGee. Willie McGee turned 75 today. Willie McGee was a 5th-round pick by the Chargers out of Alcorn State. Rams in 74 sent a 6th-round pick to the Chargers for him, and the Chargers moved that off to the Bears, became linebacker Tom Hicks. But McGee returned kickoffs for the Rams in 74 and 75, caught 6 passes for the team in 75. Caught a pass in that Steeler game that was a Sunday night. It was a Sunday night special. He caught a pass in that game. But he was lost in the expansion draft. Woke up one morning and the Rams didn't have Ken Geddes or Eddie McMillan. They went to the Seahawks, and Willie McGee went to the Buccaneers. Buccaneers immediately packaged him and sent him to San Francisco to acquire Steve Spurrier, who spent his last season quarterbacking the 0-14 Bucks. Willie McGee finished his career with the Niners and a little cup of coffee with the Lions, but I just wanted to get that in there. Born on this day in 1986, Clay Matthews Jr., he's 39 today, and former Rams starting center Tim Barnes out of Missouri turns 37. And then the one I really wanted to mention here, passing away on this day in 2009, the forgotten receiver, once briefly known as the fastest man in football out of Loyola Marymount, believe it or not, 6'2", 210, wide receiver Bob Boyd. Boyd, of course, played with the Rams in those early 50s in those teams with Elroy Hirsch, Tom Fears. So you knew he wasn't going to get a lot of looks, but He played for the Rams from 50 to 357. He passed away on this day in 2009 at the age of 81. He missed the 52 season because of military service, but he was an all-pro in 54. 53 catches, 1,200 yards on 53 catches, 6 touchdowns in 12 games. Joined the Rams in 1950 out of Loyola Marymount. He averaged 20.5 yards per catch and finished his career with 176 grabs and 28 touchdowns. And of course, I made mention the fact that he was teammates with Tom Fears and Elroy Hirsch. That trio of receivers in the early 50s there was all stood 6'2". Now, again, you go back to this. Van Brocklin and Bob Waterfield. Go back to that 51 team in those years they were competing against the Browns. Not only did they have 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, they had 2 Hall of Fame receivers in Fears and Hirsch, and the fastest man in football in Bob Boyd that no one remembers, unfortunately. And then they had the bull elephant backfield of Deacon Dan Towler, Tank Younger, and Dick Horner. This team was loaded. But you know, it's an interesting thing about the 51 Rams. Every one of their starters on the offensive line when they won the title in 51 were rookies. I encourage you, go to Amazon, buy the 1951 Los Angeles Rams, and there's a book there. Pretty good Ram podcaster, Derek Ciapala, helped edit that book. Very interesting read. But I wanted to get that in there because I always like to mention Bob Boyd. All right, cool. We exceeded the hour mark. My bad. All right, JD Durham, thank you. Gilbert Gonzalez, getting old, beat them in 70. Steve Ramirez, Vikings beat the Rams on Monday Night Football in 70. Rams did beat the Vikings in 1974. Listening to it on the radio, Dick Enberg, Jack Snow making a one-handed catch in the back of the end zone. Should have been in LA, but home field was alternated. Yes, in 75, it went by record. Yeah, that was the reason the Rams beat the Cowboys in 73, but they had to play the opening game of the playoffs in 73 in Irving. All right. You guys are awesome. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to hit share. Invite your friends. You want to talk Ram football? This is where we talk Ram football. And maybe I'll comb my hair by Friday. All right, guys. God bless. Take care.